Hey, I'm Trey Lopashinsky, and I'm joined by Councillor Trevor Bolin for the second episode of the Council Corner, where twice a month I will be meeting with a member of council to chat about ongoing topics discussed in the community, as well as items from the recent council meetings. Thank you so much, first of all, Councillor Bolin, for joining me today.
Thanks for having me on number 2.
So, I'm sure you're gonna get used to it here over the next couple weeks talking about budget. First draft was proposed on Monday. A lot of the questions for today are coming from that. Basically just to, it's a thick document. All of them are. Even for me, who've covered many different budget meetings, still every year I have to kind of reintroduce myself to it. I guess basically for residents, what are some important points that they should be looking at in the budget?
It's a good question, Trey. And I think right at basics is to understand there's 2 budgets. There is a capital budget and there's an operation budget. So capital budgets are fun. Capital budgets are new streets being paved, new buildings being built, a lot of the different things you can feel, touch, and see. Operations are a lot different. They are your city transit. It is your RCMP. It is your city staff. So very different budgets. One, of course, is fun. One is not. So I think that going back to basics and understanding the 2 of them, and as you and I go through this today, we'll touch on 2 of them and what affects what. But you know what? Honestly, other than that, I think that's the biggest thing. This year's a little bit different. Over the years, we've heard from residents who've said, "Hey, you know what? It's fantastic you keep adding these buildings like the Festival Plaza and redoing the parks and stuff. But when are we going to stop having to pay for that kind of stuff? Right? It feels like we paid for that 30 years ago. Why are we paying for it again?" So council this year actually decided to take some of the funds that are being caused by new facilities out of operations and move that from our Peace River Agreement money, our originally called fair share. So, that it levels the playing field a little bit. And I think when you do that, and that is one of the things we heard from residents is to look at these different changes. And this is the first year. So I'm excited to see the changes that alone is going to make in this budget.
Well, first of all, just talking about the operating budget, also David Joy, the CFO for the city, he said in his presentation that he presented a budget that was fully balanced because, last year, just for residents who may not know, sometimes you will come with a deficient. The goal of the city is to then work together to balance that completely. He has already presented it with a balanced budget. So just to start off, how much work do you think you guys have to go in now with what was presented on Monday, since he kind of really did everything? And he really delves into, so for anyone who wants to know more about the budget, David did really go into making it so that he had all the information and tried to explain it as much as possible in his presentation. But yeah, so I guess what's the process moving forward? Because it seems like it always depends, depending on the year, how much work you guys have to put in. Coming off of this first draft, how much work do you think you have to put in left?
Council's fortunate. Council has a team, David and his team, and Shirley and Angie and everybody that supports that team that have been here for a long time. Shirley's probably the second or third longest employee at the city of Fort St. John, and we've got a team of certified financial bodies that work on this throughout the year. So David did a fantastic job. I think part of it though is transparency. It's communication. It's the fact that throughout the year, the finance team knows what council's direction is. They know we don't like surprises. They know that, we're the best form of government for people to have a say, because you're going to run into us at the grocery store. You're going to run into us at the restaurant. And, council needs to always remain transparent and open throughout the year when it comes to these different projects. So, I think having a team that works well together. Fort St. John over the years has been recognized by different financial institutions, by the province, on the fantastic and amazing job that they do on balancing the budget. And we have clean audits. There's not a lot of municipalities that can say that. So, the topic always becomes, are my taxes going up, right? Oh, how much are my taxes going up? What did my assessment go up, which is out of our control for the assessments. But when sometimes I think the conversation needs to be, wow, right? Like that, those are hard lines. That's open. It's transparent. There's no surprises. And it shows the amount of work that's went into that.
Yeah, for sure. And you did bring it up with the tax increase. So that was one of the things that was presented in order to balance the budget. Another thing was transferring 10% of the PRA, which is the Peace River Agreement, which Councillor Bolin had talked about, in order to cover the costs of wages and things like that, which we'll get into in a second. But I did want to talk about tax revenue. So overall, which is including residential, commercial, I believe David Joyce said it was over a 4% raise overall.
Yeah.
And then for the actual property tax, so property owners will pay an additional $72 for the year, so $6 per month on an average property value of over $341,000. So, I mean, like you said, that's the first thing people want to know. Do you think that's a fair increase, and why was it needed?
You know, it's funny. So I mean, and we have a ton of conversations about this, and you know, even like I said, throughout the year, they're not budget meetings, but they're conversations of how is this going to affect us come January, right? And in all fairness, the budget actually starts back in October as staff start to put together, you know, projects that public have requested. You know, one that I mentioned a year and a half ago, we redid 84th Street. Well, that was solely from somebody who came to the city that said this street needs sidewalks. This street needs streetlights. These
Mm.
kids are not safe going to school. So, you know, we look at that and we go, how can we fit that into the budget? And that went back to October and then November, December. So, you know, there is going to be an increase of $6 a month on the average home this year. And you know, there's municipalities that are going to be a lot more than that. Fort St.
Mhm.
John is fortunate that we've been able to split our budgets like we have been. I've been on council for this would be probably, I don't know if this would be my 16th budget, maybe my 17th budget. I don't remember. But you know what? We have not ever increased taxes to what we see other municipalities increasing them to. Fort St. John has always held a very, very strong line. We've been fortunate with the Peace River Agreement funds, that funds our capital. So, you know, when you're looking at a $6 a month tax increase and you're realizing that that's, you know, two coffees, two large double doubles, or however a person does it.
Mhm.
When you really break that down, that's not a lot of money when you're considering the amount of staff, you know, around that 300 staff in the city of Fort St. John. That's your streets being cleared. That's your RCMP. That's your bus. You know, and you start to look at all of this. This is your team making sure that your water is one of the best water systems in the country. Making sure that when you flush your toilet, that sewer is gone. So all of that is you know, those operations are what people need to understand, that's what they're paying their taxes for. And, you know, not to mention we have a world-class fire department, right? So
Mhm.
your house insurance is actually cheaper here than in neighboring communities because of how fantastic our fire department is and where they rank. So, you know what? It's $6. So $6 for all of that, I'll pay it.
Mhm.
On the business side, you know, the average business is going to see about a $700 increase a year. Again, not an exponential. I can tell you in my businesses, my utilities went up higher than that in this previous year. So,
That doesn't surprise me, but
right. So when
yeah.
you look at, you know, when you look at that, so, yeah, and here's what people need to figure out. So our operational budget, again, at its base route, is what it takes us to heat facilities. It is the heat that goes into the skating rink so you can sit and watch your kids. It is or the air conditioning. You know, it is ensuring that we've got ice in all of our buildings. It is ensuring that we as residents can continue to live our lives the way we live. Those are the operations. That's the $6, right? And you know what, honestly, again, nobody likes an increase. I don't think it matters if it's 50 cents or if it's $6 because you just feel like everybody's hitting you from somewhere, right? Go to the grocery store, right? You go to the grocery store, well, you know what? We're paying those same kind of carbon taxes as residents,
Mhm.
both on our city buildings, insurances. It just doesn't stop. Council's prerogative, council's goal this year was how do we make sure that we keep those as small and minimal as we can so that residents can continue to live and love
Mm.
their lives in Fort St.
Well,
John.
and the city has to worry about inflation and all these costs
Massive,
increasing too as
massive.
well, right?
Yeah.
So,
Way more than what you would in your household.
yeah, no, definitely. So it's, you know, a lot of factors that you guys have to keep in mind. And since I've been here, I'm going on year 4 now, and covered the council every single year since. And large reports, but you know, David does a good job of breaking it down and the
Agreed.
comparisons and just a lot of numbers. Like I'm also maybe a little biased because I just find it so interesting. But for instance, the tax revenue increase for the city is generally 59% lower than similar sized municipalities, which I think that is a
It's
huge
huge.
figure. It's a huge figure. And in the reports, I didn't see it for this one, but I know he's done it before, so maybe I just missed it. Is he'll actually have the compared municipalities and what they're paying, which you can go and look
And
up
you'll
that as
see
well.
that. So he's busy remaking that list.
Mm.
Over the years, council would see that list, and it's a list that gets given out by the province, and it's like,
Mm.
okay, you know what? we need to investigate further our neighboring communities that may not be in the province. You can't compare us to Lower Mainland. I mean,
Mhm.
maybe in the last couple of weeks you could, because they're clearing more snow than we are. But
Yeah.
let's compare ourselves, because people go, compare it to Dawson and Grand Prairie and Red Deer and Okotoks, and so really, I think that new updated list you're going to see is people are going to enjoy that even more.
So let's move over. We mentioned it before, the PRA.
Yeah.
So another reason why, or another way that the city is had balanced the budget in the first draft, is taking 10% of the PRA, which is roughly $2.69 million, in order to cover salary increases. Now, on paper, I say that, you see that, a resident might be like, well, why can't we cut these salaries? Everyone's struggling. Why can't we do that? So from my understanding, these are contractual obligations with the BCGEU, and they cannot be adjusted.
No, they are. It is under contract. I mean,
Mhm.
we have an agreement with BCGU that we've just recently. I mean, I think they're every 3 years we start negotiating and working on them. But at the end of the day, we've been in a position in this city before where we said, let's not hire new staff. Let's cut some of these different services that we provide. The community came back and said, no, you're doing this wrong, right?
Mhm.
And when we tried to make snow clearing faster and more efficient, but neighborhoods needed to pitch in and clear out windrows in their driveways and all, these different things. The residents didn't want that. So,
Mhm.
if you imagine for a second, we said, okay, we need to cut some of that funding for those employees, and we cut them. And what are we going to lose? So are we going to lose ice? Are we going to lose trails? Are we going to lose
Mhm.
parks? Are we going to lose the things that people, the dog park,
Mhm.
right? Yes, the dog park, everybody at the time it was $1 million, right? Why would somebody spend so much money on a dog park? Those that use it rave about it. Those in
Mhm.
other communities that have visited us post on their own community pages about it. But imagine what it takes to then maintain and clean and pick up, dog poop that people may have left
Mhm.
on a nonstop kind of operation. But what, I think we're getting to be a large enough city where residents demand more,
Mhm.
and we need to worry about attracting doctors and professionals, and I mean, we need to worry about attracting everybody, because
Mhm.
we're getting back into the days of these under 3% unemployment rates. We're getting back into the days of these, it's going to be under 3% vacancy rates. Let's ensure that people are coming to a community that they can enjoy and that they want to stay in. And we've got new schools, we've got new buildings, we've got new programs. Let's not look at what we need to cut to save 1% at this point in time. Let's look how we can make things shift to ensure that we can have our cake and eat it too.
So a lot of stuff coming from the budget. Unfortunately, we can't cover it all in our 15 to 20-minute video
We
here,
could in
but
2 days.
yeah, I mean, we could just probably sit here chatting about it for that long for sure. So just to add on to the PRA, so 77% of it, so the brunt of the PRA money that the city is receiving this year, is going towards the capital budget, which is $46.6 million.
Huge
Um,
capital budget.
yeah, which is a very, very large. I did want to bring up at least one of the projects, and um, that would have to be 100th Street. It's the last year.
Thankfully.
It's the last year of construction. And again, I've been here 4 years, so pretty much the whole construction in the summer. I've heard the response, as I'm sure you have tenfold. Well, I know you have. We've done stories on it there at Energetic City. Moving into the last year, are residents starting to understand the importance of what you guys are doing with 100th Street, or what is being done to 100th Street? And is the city, well, I mean, you obviously are still on board, but is, kind of just, what are the thoughts
Yeah.
now with 100th Street?
So I mean, right from the beginning, yeah. I mean, people don't like change. I don't like change.
Yeah. Oh, I agree.
I voted against 100th Street when it was first presented to us. Because and it wasn't understanding at that point in time what needed to be done. The services needed to be done. So why did we tear up 100th Street? Was to redo the water and sewer. It was collapsing. The pipes were
Is the
bad. The
main,
joints were
yeah.
bad. We got to the point just the year before we started it, we started to see open pits forming on 100th Street. So
Well, was
beyond
it
that,
some? Sorry, so on some of those pipes, weren't they? Some of them the asbestos pipes,
they
like
were,
the old
yeah,
pipes,
the
which
joints,
is,
yeah, the joints in the
joints,
pipe,
yeah.
the wrapping in them had asbestos in them. So I mean, we had to get rid of them. So
Mhm.
it became, how did we put it back together again? So part of that, and I mean, people, we seen it on Facebook where we didn't have a chance to have our say in this, and it's like we had a ton of public meetings on this
Mhm.
for years,
Mhm.
And the point behind 100th Street, and we're going to see it now that it finalizes, is a destination. 100th Street isn't to roar home to work. It isn't to roar downtown to the grocery store. There's so many streets between 96, 98, 102nd, 104th, 106, 108. We have our north-south corridors everywhere. So, if you live in the Northwest, for you to come out and go down 100th Street to go to the Totem Mall doesn't make any sense, because that's not the destination you should be using, right? You can go down 106th Street all the way down, pop over on 93rd, boom, you're there. You got no lights, you got no issues. There's no nothing stopping you. So Port St. John was redesigned as a destination, as a downtown core. So when you're coming to the downtown, whether it's walking, whether it's in the vehicle, whatever it is, it's safe. You know that you're not going to get run over, because it's 4 lanes going nonstop as people are driving 70 and 80. We were clocking people as fast as 78 kilometers an hour going up 100th Street.
Wow.
That's a problem,
Yeah.
right? So we heard from seniors that were scared to walk on the sidewalk. We heard from moms that were scared to push their babies in their strollers.
Oh, wow.
The sidewalks are 2 to 3 times wider. They're safer. There's more parking that's along there. Lately we've heard back from some folks on accessible parking and, in some of the different handicap parking. We look at that. This is not something that it's not a one and done. We can continue to grow on this. The lighting, the trees, the benches. I think people need to look at it as if they haven't lived in Fort St. John their whole life, because that's what I did. Hey, I stepped back and I went, okay, you know what? If I was just moving to this community, if I was just new to this community and I was going downtown or going to home.
No, I was just pointing at me. I'm new in the community. Yeah,
I was hit this. But it's the same thing. So, it was funny. I wish we would have done lights down the entire thing. The lights that overhang.
The string lights?
Man,
I love those so much.
So last year we finished off that phase and people are raving about it.
Oh, at night, it's a beautiful drive
beautiful.
just going right there.
First thing in the morning is beautiful. But, we sat back at council and I don't remember who it was, and I looked at them and I'm like, why didn't we do those down the entire stretch? Because I think people would have actually been happy with this change. So, but it's not. It's about the different sections. It's about the recreation core. It's about the downtown core. It's about the plaza core. So once we finish off 105th and get into Veterans Way, I think people's biggest complaints were always that it was one phase from being done, right? It was, where do you merge? Where do you park? And especially in the winter, once you're used to it, it flows, and let's get this done. This hasn't cost taxpayers any money for the capital, because this was all money saved out of the PRA, same as the RCMP building, same as the Festival Plaza. Everything we've done in that downtown has been done on saved funds and on grants, which should be recognized, I think, by the community as a whole, that they didn't pay for that. But it's going to be good. It's going to be nice. And let's just get it done and go into the following summer with a completed project.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, like I said, I came in when it started. The first section, I got the frustration for sure, because
totally.
Who loves construction, especially when you're trying to do your stuff during the day, work, whatever the case may be. But I mean, in the past year, I drive up 100th every single day for the past couple of years, and I haven't had any issues. And that's just me personally. I do think that I understand it now for sure.
And there's still some frustration. You're going to get frustrated because people are in the wrong lane.
They're
not turning properly.
Especially with the snow out, right?
Give them an opportunity. Just, slow it down. You're not in a great big hurry. Be a little bit kinder, and let them take their left-hand turn and go about your day.
So as we wind down here, Trevor, one other thing I wanted to bring up aside from the budget, it was a hefty one. Again, if you're looking for more information, head to the city's website. You can check out the agenda for the most recent council meeting where David Joy made his presentation. The presentation's in there. There's a lot of information. And I believe the city also creates what you need to know. I believe they did last year.
Yeah. Well,
so
even on our website, you'll be able to, within the month or so, you'll be able to go on there, put in your house value. It'll tell you what your taxes are going to be.
Exactly.
Okay?
So there's a lot of resources on the city's website. Make sure you check it out. But the old RCMP building, so it's been a question since the new one opened up, what the use of the old RCMP building is. And I did see in the most recent council that the city is currently applying for Emergency Operations Center and Emergency Social Services funding through the UBCM's Emergency Preparedness Fund. One of the uses for the funding is to turn the old RCMP building into a turnkey EOC. I guess your thoughts on this, and why is this possibly a positive move from the Pomeroy, where I believe the services were before that?
You know what?
Still are, technically.
Still are, yeah. I mean, it would give it a home, right? So for us, we look at the old RCMP building. The old RCMP building is actually younger than I am. right? I'm not gonna say how old I am, but it's a few years younger than I am. It's a good building, right?
Mhm.
We outgrew that as an RCMP building. We outgrew that building a decade and a half ago,
Mhm.
right? There's nothing wrong with the building. Yes, it needs to be upgraded. Yes, it needs some service upgrades and electrical upgrades and HVAC upgrades. But that's any building that's that age. So you know what? I mean, as with any building we look at, the city used to always be in a get rid of it sort of mentality. All municipalities did, right? Was we don't want it, tear it down, and we have seen where buildings got so bad that they had to be torn down. You know what? That building is a huge asset for our community. You know, whether it be for this purpose or
Mhm.
10 years down the road, be for something different. You know, we need to get into that mentality of well maintaining our assets, growing our assets, ensuring that people's investment in our community grows. And when I say people's investment in our community, it's you as a taxpayer. When you're paying your taxes, that's an investment into your community.
Mhm.
You want to know that these buildings aren't being torn down or being, you know, just boarded up and left. That they're being renewed, they're being refreshed, and that there's a purpose behind them. And I think that's what you're going to see with this building, and it's going to be a great location for that.
Mhm.
It allows us to have, you know, the other services in the Palmer Sports Center that we should have, and the services in the arena that we should have. And honestly, I think that it's going to be a benefit to the community all around and the region as well.
At the very least, it spreads things out, right? You're not
Absolutely.
stuffing everything at the Pomeroy. Now you have, the own space for the EOC. Of what you can speak of, is there any possible other uses for the building, that you guys have talked about? I know a lot of things have been kind of thrown out, but is there anything else that you guys are kind of leaning towards?
It's a big building.
Yeah.
There is a large basement for those that haven't been in it that is underneath it. That's going to need a substantial reno. I think right now it will be based on the EOC, which too. I mean, we could also then, you know, look at using that as an ESS center underneath that EOC, right?
Mhm.
So it's not just a one use, but we've gotten into this thing where the Pomeroy Sports Center is a large building. It is a fantastic building in this community, but it's got to stop being the catch-all, right? At some point in time, we need to say, you know, that is designed for sport. It is sport tourism. It is playing sports. It is teams. It is not a catch-all, be-all. You know, at one point in time, we had community services that were in there, and it's like, you know, so let's focus on the fact that is sport, and our arts are our arts, and you know, our EOC needs to be an EOC, and we're fortunate to have, again, the RCMP building was built through savings. It was built through grants. It was built through a mortgage that the province will pay. So the capital spending on that $51 million, there was not a cent that came from residential taxpayers in the city of Fort St. John. So when you look at that and then you go, okay, you know what, now we've got a use of a fantastic previous building that was built in 1983 or 84. Let's keep going. Let's
Mhm.
keep building. Let's keep saving, and let's keep investing in our city.
Yeah, I saw that, and I thought that that was a great idea to put the EOC in there for sure, especially coming off of, the wildfire season this
Oh
last
yeah.
year, and
Mm.
a pretty warm winter. So let's see
Right.
what. I don't want to jinx anything, but for this wildfire season coming up, the newsroom at
Yeah.
Energetic City is definitely holding our breaths. Um, well, that's pretty much all the questions I have, Bo. I mean, I do have some more for council, but we only have a certain amount of time. I guess I wanted to kind of open up the floor to you if there's anything else that you wanted to bring up to residents, or and inform them about anything else that the city has going on in
You
the
know,
coming months.
I mean, I think this is fantastic. I mean, this is like we said, this is our second
Mhm.
issue. The mayor was on the first one, Mayor Hanson. I'm excited to see these continue. I think it's a
Mhm.
good chance for people to have that conversation and understand kind of more than what's in a report.
Mhm.
You know, when it's coming from one of the counselors, stay involved. You
Mhm.
know, like you said, go to the city page. You can see all the information in David's report on there. From that, we're going to have public meetings. We're going to have public hearings about the budgets. It's not, as we've said a few times of this, it's not a one and done,
No.
right? We want the feedback. You know,
Mhm.
if the, you know, some of the funds maybe we're putting towards something, we know it's going to be a $6 a month increase, but if those funds should go to something else, and we keep that increase, we want to hear about it,
Mhm.
right? We want to hear, is there an issue that's in your neighborhood that we need to plan in our capital budget for next year, right? Because it's your kid's safety, or because, you know, you can't get a stroller down the street. Council in Fort St. John, the mayor and council in Fort St. John, it is probably one of the most open group that I've ever seen in my life. And I deal in a lot of different municipalities, and have businesses in other municipalities. And it's just, it's a different concept that we have here, where, you know, we love hearing from people. We're involved on community pages. So when there's an issue that, you know, we can be tagged in, or somebody can bring it to us.
Mhm.
That is what we do. That is what we're going to continue to do. This is part of that. So thank you to you guys for ensuring that we could be open and transparent with the residents that we were elected to serve.
No, thank you so much for saying those kind words. I think this is going to be huge for the community, like you're saying. And, watching councils all the time and reading the reports, like, don't get me wrong, even sometimes I'm scratching my head sitting there trying to figure it out. So this is an opportunity to then, you know, deliver it in a way that people could understand it, or, another way that they can possibly understand
Yeah,
it. So
and get involved in it.
yeah, exactly. 100%. Well, thank you so much, Councillor Trevor Bolin, for joining us for the second episode of Council Corner, which is taking place twice a month. We will be meeting with a member of council, such as Bolin, chatting about ongoing topics and the most recent council meeting. So thank you so much for watching the second episode.
Have a great day.